Hey, what's going on out there, YouTube family? This is Sammy Leggy here representing Team JVS. I'm back here again for another movie review. Now, the name of this movie is called The Guilty. This is going to be premiering on Netflix, much like Hellbound. And this is one of my most anticipated movies, a part of TIFF. And this is part of the Toronto Film Festival 2021. This is starring Jake Gyllenhaal. Jake Gyllenhaal's character's name is Joe. Joe is working as a Los Angeles public service call center person that's basically taking any and all 911 calls. It appears that, you know, in the very early on that he was kind of put to this situation because of some priors that he kind of had. But he got one more day and then he'll be back out in the streets, you know, police patrolling. And Jake Gyllenhaal's character is very abrasive, like he's really shrewd, honestly really snotty, and just like, it seems like he's got not only a chip over his shoulder, but he seems like he's got a lot of anger. And you don't really understand it. You don't really get it. At first I was kind of like, bro, like, cool out. Like, I get it's tense. But even like some of the calls, like he was on the calls with some people just so, you know, unempathetic, like of the situation. Just kind of, it was like a regular day. And then one day he has this, you know, call, person named Emily. And Emily is basically talking to him in code. And it's like talking to him as though he's her daughter. And he picked up on it because he was a cop. And now it is a kidnapping situation that he's trying to navigate. And the thing about this, it could be just the most simplistic thing. Like, because you've seen this. Like, I swear that, what was it, like 4 years ago, maybe 3 years ago? Legit, your girl Halle Berry literally had a movie just like this. And I mean, also it takes liberties from the movie, was it Locke with Tom Hardy? Because honestly, there's not a big cast in this. I mean, in terms that you actually see. The people that are on the phone, that are interacting with the main character, Joe, now, there's some heavy hitters. You will not believe. Like, you got Eli Gore. If you haven't seen One Night in Miami, he played Muhammad Ali. You got freaking Ethan Hawke. You got Paul Dano. You got, who else was it? Peter Sarsgaard. Like, there are some heavy hitters that are on the phones that you never really even get to see. But it's kind of like, the movie starts off with you kind of being like, oh, okay, I want him to get what's going on. I want him to figure out what's going on. But all throughout, he keeps on getting these random calls, right? And the calls are, you know, from, like, sometimes this might be from, you know, a publicist. Sometimes it might be from news. Sometimes it might be, you know, like his ex-wife. Talking about his daughter, and like he's consistently on the phones, and the people that are working there are like, yo, get off your personal phone or take the phone outside. And he's getting more and more upset and more flustered. And it's weird because they set the backdrop is so good. The backdrop is he's there, but then there's like forest fires that are happening in the California area. There's crime is really high, and there's not a lot of PD that can get to, you know, the scene of the crime really easily. And it's not readily available to you. And he also has a former sergeant played by Ethan Hawke that, you know, is telling him, okay, you got one more day, it's all good. And when the Emily situation happens, aesthetically, the whole movie shifts and changes. Like, it can progressively change because you start to unearth, you know, who the character Joe really is, how many rules he's willing to bend to get what he wants, and how easy it is for him to just go off on somebody else and be all higher than thou. You find out like he's as much the protagonist as the antagonist, even though this situation is happening to this character Emily. Now, this is where the movie shines. The dialogue and the circumstance of tension. The circumstance of tension, it continuously elevates. There's a situation that he was on the phone with this little girl, and that conversation was one of the hardest things I've had to hear, literally. And I was kind of like, oh my gosh, what is really happening? And then there's another situation where he's talking to his sergeant, and he's pleading with the sergeant to do something, and he's sure, he's right, and yet you can tell like he really might not be. And it is so many different lines that are being blurred, so many different arcs that are happening with these intricate characters that you don't even see. And it's like, by the time you get to the second to third act transition, you start to realize, oh my gosh, this is terrible. This is a terrible situation to be in. Antoine Fuqua kills it. He kills it with, I initially kind of was like, okay, this is a good movie. Like, I mean, I'm going to definitely recommend people to go see it, right? This, I did not foresee me being like, by the end of the movie, like, yo, this was freaking amazing, bro. Like, it's so much. And it's not like this is Jake Gyllenhaal's best acted performance. No. I think the circumstance around him that are built around him allow him to be able to hit certain levels and certain plateaus. But it's really about the grain of this story, like the story in and of itself, and what is the essence behind the title. What is Antoine Fuqua trying to say about this, and how it's being depicted. Like, I mean, even when that's the other thing. Sound plays a huge role in this, and I'm not talking about the score. I mean, the score's all right, but I'm talking about everything is through a phone. So it's kind of like it's left up to your interpretation and your imagination of what's really happening, which is even more intriguing and endearing. That I was kind of like, this is a freaking great movie because the sound design is so good, and it's like it leaves you on your edge of your seat because you're just like him. You're at the mercy of this call. Like at no time did he have any real true control over any circumstance, and I think that that's the reality of the film that makes the narrative so, I don't even know. I would say impactful, but that seems small. Important, but yet no, immense. I think that's a good word. This was an immense film without over budgeting, without, overacting, without, being too preachy. And it's not like this isn't something you haven't seen before, but the way that it goes and how it goes, it really did resonate with me. I'm not going to lie. Like, I really, truly actually loved this film. And I didn't think that I would. I think it was at a certain point I was just like, wow, they're really going for this. And they are not holding back at all. And I didn't even know the voice talent behind it. But, man, what do I rate this? I rate this at a 9 out of 10, man. I really want to give it a 10, but I feel like there are certain things and tropes that I was kind of like, I can predict where this is going to go. I can predict where that's going to go. Small little nitpicky things like that. But ultimately, in my book, it's a 10. But I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10 as a critic that I think that you got to see this movie when it comes out on Netflix. Like, this and Hellbound now, like, Netflix is on a roll. Because that's 2 for 2 for me. Like, they already out the gate come up with 2 of the best things I've seen so far in Toronto International Film Festival. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit that bell button, and definitely go and check out The Guilty as soon as it's released on Netflix. Okay, guys? Peace, everybody.